everyone, and welcome to another episode of Justin and the Food Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm Justin Bizzarro. I'm your host, and today I have with me my loving and caring significant other, Deborah Michas.
Hello.
And today I have with us Kevin Clark and Lisa Spooner, the co-owners and co-founders of Homegrown GA Restaurant in Atlanta, Georgia. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome.
Great.
And Kevin and Lisa, please tell us a little bit about yourselves, how you got into the restaurant business, and a little bit about your journey on the way there.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm Kevin Clark, and it's been an amazing journey. I grew up with my mom cooking. I mean, she was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad worked full-time. So I somehow was the one in the family that gravitated to the kitchen. So I love to cook. You know, I didn't really have a direction of any sort. I wasn't much of the one to go to school. I tried college, wasted my parents' money, and just, you know, eventually went to culinary school. And from there, all I've ever done is worked in restaurants. So, you know, my journey has been food, but for other people. And 9 years ago, Lisa and I decided, you know, we had opportunity at a little spot down the street from where we lived that was up for rent. And we didn't know what we were doing other than I knew how to cook and she knew how to balance and run a business, the finances. And we started this journey.
Sounds like a good combo, team in the making. So that was the jumping off point. You guys were like, maybe we'll just give this a try ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we had worked for other people, and, you know, you just kind of, I was to the point where I was like, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it. You know, and not that I didn't enjoy working for other people, but, you know, you like things about it and you hate things about it. And it's like, you know, you can talk about it, but until you do it by yourself, you don't really know. And then you can make all the decisions. And if you make mistakes, you can't blame, you know, the owner this, the owner that. So, you know, it was just our time. I mean, the economy wasn't great. People thought we were crazy. Our parents thought we were making
the
really big
naysayers.
mistakes.
We always hear about the naysayers. There's always the people in your lives who are like, are you sure you want to do this? I love it. And you guys are yes, well, 100% we're doing this.
It was, you know, we definitely, not that they somewhat, I mean, I don't know if they somewhat said it to us, so we could both tell. I mean, it was like, they're like, what in the hell? I mean, you know, Lisa will tell you, I mean, she was a school teacher. I mean, she's got her master's degree in education, and, you know, her parents were like, why did you waste your time doing this? And now you're working in the food business. So, well, she can tell you more about that. But, you know, and my father, you know, worked for corporate America and, you know, worked his way up and had never owned his own business. So, you know, for us to jump out on our own, in our own business, you know, I think the most difficult part about at least my family was they really couldn't give me advice. So it was like the first time in my life that, you know, my dad couldn't say or help me in some sort of way. You know, it was like, you know, maybe your bills will be like this, but he really didn't have a clue. So, you know, when we got into it, we pretty much did it on our own.
That's really interesting. A lot of the entrepreneurs we hear from really have a model from their childhood, whether it was an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, parents, siblings, whatever, who were entrepreneurs, who kind of got them, you know, wet their whistle a little bit, like, hey, and they could see a lifestyle, or they could see being their own kind of boss. So interesting that you guys didn't really have that you guys were just like, hey, we really want to do this, and if now or never kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, my grandfather had a lumber company, but I wasn't close with him. You know, I just knew about it. It wasn't something that I saw or I was around, you know, and I think for Lisa and I, you know, luckily for us, I can say this, you know, we did talk to people earlier, like before we did Homegrown, and we would ask, like, you know, other business owners, like, can you give us some advice? And I think the worst part about it for us was the advice was always terrible. Like, you better have a ton of money. You know, you're going to, like, it was never like positive. And, you know, and I remember, you know, we were talking about it and they'd be like, screw that. Like, why are people trying to like, do they want you not to do it? You know, is it like, it's the toughest thing you can ever do? Like, we never had anybody give us positive, like, this is what you should do. And I'm here to help you. You're going to come across things that are not going to be easy, but, you know, we've probably come across it. Give us a call. You know, we didn't have that. And it was probably a couple of people that we talked to. And I remember finally I was like, you know what? We don't have a ton of money. You know, we don't have family money. Like, we don't have these things that people are saying you got to have. And I was like, not everybody's got to have that.
Right.
Like, there's got to be a way to do it. You know, and we and we did it. I mean,
I think that's the ingredient, though. It's the idea that you think you can. You know, everyone's like, well, there's this, there's that. That's why those people aren't doing it. But you're like, there's got to be a way. And it's that tenacity and that desire to be like, no, we got this. We can figure this out. We're smart people, you know. That's awesome. I love hearing that.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if smart people, but it, you know, like I said, I can cook. I just knew if the food tastes good, I mean, that's half the battle when you go to a restaurant. I mean, we go out to eat a lot and it's like, the food's terrible. Like,
yeah.
And the person spent millions of dollars for like the top architect, the top, you know, designer, architects. And it's like, you know, you're kind of losing the mark. Like you open a restaurant, hopefully people to come for the food, but you spend all this money, you know, and it's like, we didn't have that behind us. So it was like, we got to just make sure the food's good and everything else is going to just have to fall into place. And that was it. I mean, you know, we didn't have a business plan. We didn't have like this business model. You know, we're kind of, you know, we talk about it now and think about it as like, we did things so backwards that most people would never do it. Like how can you open a restaurant or a business and you don't have a business plan, which, you know, you hear like you got to have this master business plan and you walk into the bank and you got to, you know, do research of what people make in the neighborhood. You know, it gets complicated. And,
right.
You know, if that's who you think you've got to feed and what they want, I mean, we would have never done it.
Well, I can tell you one thing I know for certain, having written many business plans, is they never work out the way you write them. And so I think the whole concept of writing one is that you've kind of thought through stuff, you've done projections, but the one known factor is it's not going to look the way that you designed it. It's going to pivot. You're going to have to. It's just going to be different. There are unforeseen consequences.
I think Deborah just stole my exact thought. I'm like, business plans are a funny thing because you start off with something and literally probably within the first 2 weeks of running that business, the whole thing's like torn to shreds because you're on the fly. And I think part of it is there's a huge advantage of just going and doing something and willing to learn on the fly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like I said, my father, the only thing about this business that he tried to help us with was like water bill, power bill, you know, payroll. And, you know, he wrote it down and we kept it. And it was like, I mean, the numbers the funny thing is about those numbers that he wrote down, it was like, shit, that looks expensive. And it was like power bill, $300, payroll, $1,200, you know, and, you know, we were paying a mortgage at the time, which was, you know, $1,500 a month that we barely could pay. I mean, you know, we're like, now we have double that. Like, how are we going to make enough money to pay a mortgage, a lease on a business, payroll, power bill, water bill? Well, you know, when we opened this business and like the first power bill and water bill and this and that came in, it was like 6 times what he wrote down. I mean,
right.
Like blew our mind.
Okay,
I mean, you know, yeah. The heating and air didn't work and we had to get heating and air and it was like $30,000 and it was like, what? You know, all these things that we had no idea. I mean, I had to order a steam table and I remember it showed up and the guy showed up and the bill was like $1,200. I went and hid and I was like, Lisa, tell him to leave. Like, how do I write a check for $1,200? And she said, do we need it? And I'm like, of course. She goes, then you get it. I mean, you know, we don't need to buy things we don't need, but if it's going to make our business run better, which I knew it was, you know, okay. But that's how we got into this. And it sounds funny now, and even when I think about it, but we were so naive to the reality. I mean, we'd work for other people, but you don't deal with the day to day and buying things and what things cost. And I'm glad I didn't.
Right.
But that we've done it. I've got a friend who just opened a restaurant, and I did everything in my power to be so positive and helpful in the way that I wish somebody would have been to me. Because you need someone to lean on. It's it's hard.
Right. Although it sounds like you guys had that in each other, and that's awesome. And it's awesome too that as you guys are going down the road and finding your own success, that you're able to pass that, put it forward, and help other people, and be that role for them.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I want. I want people to know you can do it. I mean, we did it, and I mean, I don't even know if I can even say this on here, but we did it so cheap. I mean. And I'd ask other people. I had friends that opened businesses, 10 years prior, like what I know now that I've met. And I was like, what did it cost you to open your restaurant? Like from the second you decided to do it to whatever money you spent to the doors open, and, it's like 80, 90, 100, I mean, I've heard $1 million, numbers that blow me away. And, for us, we did it for a used car, which is completely unheard of. I mean, so we didn't have that initial struggle of like, we got to make it. Like, we got to pack it out. We have to be busy. And, it allowed us to grow organically. I mean, we literally built our business one customer at a time. 2 customers turned into 4.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome, though, and I think that organic growth and all of that stuff is what those top designers are trying to design. They're trying to design that into their places of the authenticity, the whatever. But when you come by it honestly, there's no, it's just speaks its own voice.
You can't. To me, you just can't do that. Like from the day we opened to how it evolved, and it still evolves to this day. Like I'm glad we didn't try to design the whole place out from day one, like let's try to make it look this way. I mean, we went from bare walls to, meeting local artists to that local artist turning off to another artist to, I mean, and that's how we covered our walls with art. Cause I didn't know, Lisa and I, neither one, we weren't in the art world, and I wasn't about to go out and just buy a bunch of art to fill it, so we met one artist who knew another artist, and so then we got into the art community, which now we're huge in, and so not only do we sell local artists, but with social media, I mean, when they put new art up, so like it's just this major organic crazy world that we got involved with that we didn't even know we were going to get involved in.
Well, so smart too. I mean, you're sitting there and you have a restaurant, but you bring in different artists, and then they're telling people to come see their art, which is sending people to your new restaurant, and you guys are like helping each other out. So they don't have to pay some expensive gallery to get their artwork in and take a fraction of what it is they want to make on it. And so it's just, totally cohesive the way you guys work together.
When you think about it, I mean, that, to get a little bit deep, but that's what life should be about. Like, helping each other there's nothing wrong with it. Like, and I do find in the restaurant world that it's not always that way. It's competitive, and, it's like who's got the most Yelp reviews, or, like when they do best of the top 10 restaurants in the city, it's like, it gets tough. Like, you got to be in those top echelons of people or restaurants, or you feel like you're not busy or you're not part of the community. And, for us, we just want to feed people good food and be a part of the community, help to be helpful, like a place where people want to come eat. And, you meet your neighbor. It's comfortable, you don't have to have a ton of money to eat at our place. I mean, it's very affordable. So
I think one of the things that I really want to touch upon, especially with the audience, and especially helping future entrepreneurs and somewhat helping people where you weren't helped, is there's a huge advantage in the disadvantage of not having money. And I really repeat that. There's a huge advantage and the disadvantage of not having money, because as entrepreneurs, it forces us to maneuver, and it forces us not to make big leaps at first, because then we're not fully committed and we can adjust and we can pivot, and we learn how to deal with customers, and we learn how to deal with vendors, and we learn how to build relationships because we don't have money to do it for us. And in that becomes our biggest advantage, and it becomes the biggest growth lessons for us as entrepreneurs. And it's hard. It can suck sometimes, and it can be downright just, running from a vendor or running from a customer because you don't want to face them. Running in the corner. Some days I feel like that every once in a while. But, having to face it, it's amazing. Go on.
Yeah, but, for us, which we had, some of the things that we did learn, which from other places we worked, is, for us, we never did anything on terms. If we couldn't pay for it that day, from day one we were this way, then we're not going to get it. And, you get these big people give you 30, 60, 90 days, and you don't really realize, which other places I've worked, when you order every day from a company and you're 30 days in, it's like there's $10,000 bill shows up where we literally, like you said, started with nothing, very, very small amount of money. It's crazy. But if we couldn't, if each day, if we didn't need it from the day before, we just didn't order it. And, Lisa would say, can't write any checks today. Stuff's got to clear, business has got to pick up. And we always found we had enough in-house. But I think what you're saying about not having it was probably the best thing for us, because it made every day that much more important. And we, at the beginning, it was day to day. Each day was just a new day. And if we had enough to get through that day, that was enough.
Well, and it's really quite perfect. Because really the longer the terms people give you, it's just the longer rope they're giving you to hang yourself. Because like you said, they give you longer terms. When that bill finally comes, it's that many days times that, so it's just a huge bill. And if you're not really good with finances and saving and knowing what you've been spending, you can very quickly get yourself upside down where you can't fix it.
Right. And when it comes, we all know when it comes to restaurant people, we're not, it's a different breed. I know I am, I'm not one to balance a checkbook. I could easily just spend it, but, luckily for me, I do have Lisa who.
Yay, Lisa.
Who
Cheers.
control, and it really did. I tell people, they go, "Oh, we love your restaurant." I said, "Listen, it's not, there's two sides of this restaurant. It's the side that you see that I'm walking around talking and the food." I go, "But Lee, who's upstairs, who's paying the bills, and what she's doing upstairs is, I say, way more important." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Exactly. It's very, very important that you know. It's still a business. That's what I've had to learn. People are in business to make money. You got money coming in and money going out. So." I've had to learn. I'm the worst. I'm a spender. I like to buy and do, but luckily, I know she hasn't said much, but Lisa keeps it real, and we've been successful because of that.
Well, that's awesome. So, how long have you guys been at this? When did this all begin?
June. Well, it was June 2010. We actually got homegrown in May. In April of the same year. It took us, April, May, June, April, 2.5 months from the day we got it to the day we opened, and that was about all the money we had.
That's a pretty fast turnaround to do your build out and get ready to open the doors.
Well, it was an existing business. It was a restaurant, and it was in a family for 40 something years.
Wow.
And the son was over it, and it was an old greasy spoon. It's got heart of pine. It's awesome. It's the kind of place that gets torn down and a high rise and new stuff gets put up. But he just had enough, and he turned 50 and he locked the doors and he put up for rent, and lots of, what I heard later was most all the top restaurants and restaurateurs and chefs all looked at it when we were looking at it, but it just needed a ridiculous amount of work. And back to being naive, we had no idea.
You're like, great, we'll take it.
We didn't bring in our designers and our whoever. It was like, it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars to just get it up to open. I mean, we walked in and it was like, oh, there's a hot buffet line. I'll use that. I mean, I was, because it was just turnkey. All the equipment, everything in it could be kept and used.
You're so like, perfect. You know what? I can make this
Table,
work.
Chairs. Right. So that, and once we got into it, I mean, there was a little more to it. And luckily we had some neighbors who did plumbing, who did just minor stuff. And we, like I said, on a major shoestring budget, which we had very little, we got it open and used what we had and couldn't use things. And it was the not knowing allowed us to do it.
So did you basically walk in, look around, say, okay, this is the equipment we have, and with that, I'm going to build my menu? Or, because obviously not every kitchen can make every food.
We were opening. We didn't have a menu.
Until like 3 hours before we opened.
and I see that might have been one of the items in Lisa's reward for helping you with the restaurant is the Spooner soup.
Yeah, right.
There.
And that's her soup. But I mean, that's how we did it. It was like, let's just get open. It's going to be, breakfast, eggs, bacon, grits, fruit, lunch. We'll do mashed potatoes, gravy, pork chops, the menu. At the beginning, the menu changed every day, and it still does to this day. We changed something, different items, what's in season. So we did that from the beginning. It was like, let's just see what'll work and see what people want. So we every day did something different. If it was a chicken dish and a pork dish, but we probably started with 7 different dishes, and we do breakfast all day. But what do people like for breakfast? It's eggs, bacon, biscuits, it's Southern biscuits and gravy. So we literally opened and this is going to be the menu and let's see who wants it. And then the next day we changed it and the next day we changed it until the menu probably over the first year developed.
That's kind of cool, though, just slowly keep being like, okay, this is a really good seller. We're going to keep this one on. And, hey, let's try something new. Not so good. We're going to pick something different and just keep going until you're like, okay, these things are all really, the customers love it.
And, you know what? And the crazy thing is, I do not think that we ever put something on the menu that didn't sell. Like, there weren't something like that was a waste. We've had from fried quail to we did frog legs for a while. And it was fun for me being a chef. I would just be like, let's just try it. And, but we'd see the same people every day. I would usually just bring it out. Hey, here, try this. Why don't you try this? What do you think? And then, it just, or something I would be eating. Like, there's Kevin's breakfast on the menu. There's Grant, there's different items that sounds crazy and people would order it and we put it on. And we've done, the funny thing is there's items we've done TV shows about that crack us up because it was like, oh my God, that was just a random thought that we came up with. And now we're doing the best thing I ever ate, on the cooking channel, or, Anthony Bourdain's talking about the comfy chicken biscuit. It's just,
you're like, why not? It's fun. It's a passion of yours. It's something you enjoy doing, and it's cool that you let it reflect in your menu by bringing out new stuff all the time. And I'm sure your customers love it too because they're always up for a new, something to sample.
Yeah, and I want to pause for a second to tell everyone they should go look at these menus. They're on homegrownga.com because I'm just like, they're phenomenal items. I have them printed out in front of me because we're doing the podcast, but I'm sitting here like, and as you mentioned, the comfy chicken biscuit, I'm like drooling, or the Kevin's breakfast, and they're amazing. And I just, I think it's so well done. I can see why, things are on there. The award-winning sloppy Joe that's 100% vegan, and
yeah. But it's like we're not reinventing the wheel. I'm not trying to like change. It's just, the food that we produce at Homegrown and the feel we produce is just comfort. You come in, you feel like you're at your grandmother's place. You feel like you're at your home growing up. And then you order, and it's just like the food that you would have cooked in your kitchen with your grandmother or your mother. It's just very straightforward. It's not like you read the menu one way and it comes out another. It is so exactly what it is that, I think that that's what people want. I mean, I get tired of going out and you read a menu and it says this and you get that. I mean, we just had lunch today and it read one way and it came out another. And It's like, and it happens often. I mean, it's just the way it just happens. But we just, like I said, we just kept it simple. And like, I said, I came from fine dining. So my initial transition to like comfort food was hard for me because, in the fine dining world, it's like the plate's got to be a specific plate and the wine glass has to be a specific wine glass. And if you don't buy the certain brand, it's like before you've even done the food, you've spent all this money for what you think people want. And, we learned quick because we were sitting one day in the restaurant and we're looking over and we could see bag in the box, which is how Coke and Sprite come. And it was just sitting on a rack right across the counter where the customers sit. And I remember we were going back and forth and I was like, Lisa, if people don't come eat here because of that, we're never going to make it. Like, I don't want to be that place. Like, it shouldn't be about that. Like, oh, look, they must have spent a ton of money on, this, that, and the other. It's just, you come in and it's just comfortable and you feel welcome and you don't have to worry about if you're wearing the certain thing or you're dressed a certain way. I mean, you can literally walk into Homegrown in your pajamas and you would feel in place.
Deborah might just do that next time we're in Atlanta. Actually, she loves wearing sweatpants and pajamas everywhere.
We work from home a lot of the time, and so it's very easy to just kind of stay in your sweatpants all day. It's very comfortable.
Right, but isn't that comfortable? I mean, don't you feel comfortable like that? I mean, that's how it should be. Why not go out and be comfortable?
Of course. Well, so you guys have been doing this almost 9 years now, and so what does the future look like for you? I mean, what are your goals and aspirations? Do you guys have ideas of where you want to take this, or?
You know what? Homegrown has done more for us than I know me, and I'm sure Lisa, we ever expected. Like the people we've met, the business that we do. I mean, and that we get everything out of life that we could possibly ever need. And, we've been asked, we'd like for you to be our, anchor to this place, or, we have locations and more locations and more locations, and I got friends that have opened multiple places. For me, and I'm sure Lisa would say the same, it's like, it's great, but it is so hard, like mentally and physically, like what we've just gone through in the 9 years, just with our business, that like, physically, I don't think we could do it.
Right. You're in your groove. You've figured out what works, and
we're in a happy place, and I mean, I know we could open a Homegrown in every city, in every town across the country, but I can't clone me, and we can't clone her.
Right.
And, and it's just, we've accepted it. We hit a market, we hit a thing, and we hit a grand slam, and we're fine with it. We're fine with one.
That's awesome, though. You guys love what you're doing, and and I get that. There's, there comes a point in your career. I mean, I know I had a point at one time about possibly growing a company I had, and it was like, well, what would that mean? What it would mean ultimately was time away from my kids. I maybe make more money, but I might spend more on hiring people to do it because it was further away. And I was just like, the cost benefit at that point to me was not worth it. So I get the juggle of like, is it worth doing? Because if it's not going to increase your life in some way, is it worth all the effort? And some people love having multiples, and their energy, really needs that. But, if you find the thing that works for you guys and it fits great, then that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's, and like I said, we've come to terms with it. I mean, people ask us and we talk. I mean, I have people ask me all the time, and I'll meet with them, and it's like, because it's usually like, why don't you come up with another concept? And I'm like, why? Like, why would I want to try to like do something that I don't really know about when I know everything about this? Like, if I ever did a second or third, I mean, if it ever happened, it would be a Homegrown. I would just do the exact same thing. I mean, I know the food. I mean, I don't think one place would be different, but it's something that we haven't. And we moved. I mean, we lived in the city right by the restaurant, and we moved out to the country just for our personal well-being. Like we needed it. We needed just
alone time,
country, and just, I mean, we literally live in the woods and we love it.
It sounds nice.
I was hoping that when you were talking about shoestring budget, you weren't saying you got rid of your mortgage and moved into the restaurant. I was worried we were going down that path.
No, but I mean, I'm just saying, like we opened, when I say shoestring, like a used nice car. But anyway, I mean, that's, and some, like I said, we've talked to people about it before, and we just got lucky, and we rolled the dice, and it worked.
So I want to talk a little bit about, I see on your menus that you know how you get your suppliers. I see the Riverview Farms, which we've talked about on a previous podcast actually, and Emerald City Bagels and Due South Pickles, as well as Bramlett Farms and Gum Creek Farms. How do you choose your ingredients and your products, and what standards do you use? I mean, you obviously have success in your restaurant if people are coming to you asking you to expand. So how do you go about that, and what's your thought process there?
It's funny you ask, because every single one of those are friends. They start out as friends. The shrimp, we get our shrimp. Well, you didn't mention shrimp, but Native Seafood, who we get I don't think it's even on our menu, but that's who I get my shrimp from. He's a young kid out of Savannah, from a small town or south of Savannah, and he would come up to Atlanta, peddling the shrimp. That's all he does. Well, a customer was at a U-Haul facility, and he showed up with his truck, and he was like, "You need to go see my friend Kevin at Homegrown." So Timmy shows up, and he was just a super nice kid that just trying to make it. So I've been buying for him for 9 years. Due South, Nick Melvin, friend of mine, started a pickle company. Bramlett Farms, a server of ours worked at another restaurant, and I was like trying to find a good trout supplier. Well, it's a family run. It's farm raised, but it's as naturally raised as possible. I mean, they live on a valley. They raise them. We get it every week. They catch the trout. We get 25 a week. So every purveyor that we use, I guess what I'm saying is they're friends. They end up being friends. So when I call and place an order, it's not just always talking about, "Hey, I need this." I mean, it's, we try to do business with people that we like. And if we don't like them, we don't do business with them.
I think that's a great model. That's pretty awesome, right? Because then you're feeling good about your products. You get to promote theirs, and I think it's really cool that you put them on your menus, and so that if people ever see those brands elsewhere, they're like, "Oh, wait, that's also at Homegrown," and it's cool. Yeah. You're kind of cross promoting for them.
And I think the really cool thing about it is all those different brands are usually only known for being in like the fine dining establishments. It's not like you're going to Waffle House and you read, "Oh, there's Bramlett Farm trout, or there's Riverview Farm sausage." They don't care. I mean, it's the bottom line there. They're using whatever's going to be the cheapest to get on, whatever. But for me being a diner, or us being a diner, a very simple restaurant, and people come in and they're like, I had dinner last night at Buccanelia, and it was $300 for the two of us. And I got the trout dish, and it was $45. Now I'm at Homegrown, and they got the same trout, but it's actually the whole trout, and it's not even a quarter of the price. Like, we don't have that overhead of all, and that's what I love. Like, we can use the exact same product, and we can make money on it, and we don't have to charge a ton of money for it. I mean, and it's funny that I say that, because I understand, the fine dining, you're paying for the chef and the sous chef and the Rydell glasses, but it prides us that I can use that exact same product and give it to customers that have never gone to the fine dining establishment, but they come to our place and they get to eat that exact same trout that they would never order off the other menu, and they love it. Right. Or the pork, Riverview Farms, we use them. I mean, it is a little bit more expensive, but it's just it's a top shelf item. I mean, and it's local. I mean, we're supporting a local, it's like helping our economy. So, and people ask now, like, where do you get, where does most of your stuff come from? And, we can pretty much say we use as much local as we possibly can.
Yeah, I love that trend. It's things that, we're definitely seeing more and more of, the whole locally grown, sustainably grown, or locally sourced, sustainably grown. And, people are really wanting to support their own economies and whatnot. So that's cool that you guys do that. Also, as you are talking about the price and stuff, I see on your menu that you offer 2 prices, regular and blue collar. Do you want to share with the listeners the difference for the 2?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a blue plate. Like when we started, it's funny. You see the 2 prices. Most people only get the blue, and I think we've talked about just doing that. Meaning, it comes with a drink, a side, a cornbread. It can be a smaller portion, but generally, even our small portions is a ton. I mean, we give large portions, so it's just like a full size meatloaf. If it was on the menu, would be. You just get 2 pieces of meatloaf at that price. But if you do a blue, you get a piece of meatloaf, a side, which can be collards, a bean, mashed potatoes, gravy, cornbread, and a drink. So the lower of the 2 prices is just like a value meal.
Perfect. It's so funny too, hearing about sizes. It's always an interesting thing because some places you go and it's just, especially the nicer the restaurant, the smaller the portion size. And, and so it's not only do you guys have generous servings, but it's also of like the higher quality ingredients. So it's bonus all the way around.
Right. And that, when we dealt with that, you go eat and you leave and you're still hungry. I mean, it's funny. It's always the joke like, oh, I just spent $300 and on the way home I had to go to McDonald's to be full.
Yeah, that's us with Taco Bell.
Right. And that, and that's just the way it is. And I understand, like I said, I'm glad we do what we do because I love our food. And when people eat there and they leave, I can, I'm for sure you're not going to leave hungry. There's no way. And if somebody does, then it's not my fault.
You're like, I did my part.
Right.
That's awesome. So, as looking at the road you've been on and all that you've been through and, what would you guys tell the younger version of yourselves or, as you have people asking you what they should do when they go into business, what's the advice that you pass on to people?
I mean, I think the advice I would give is just surround yourself with positive people. There's going to be those who are, like I said, who are going to make it sound like you shouldn't do it. But I mean, in the end, if you love what you do, which, like I said, I love food so much that I knew I could make it at least taste good. But, you need to just, like for me, luckily I had Lisa on my side. It's important to have someone who's going to help you financially. But I mean, when you say about the younger side, I mean, when I was younger, I didn't listen to anybody. I mean, yeah. and I still probably don't a lot. And, I guess the main thing is life is short. I mean, it's going to come to an end. Like we live in a country where any and every opportunity is there for anybody. Like, I don't care. I mean, like I said, we did it with nothing in a time where you think everything's expensive, and it is. I mean, you can find it. I mean, you can do whatever you want and be successful at it. It's not going to be easy. I mean, people even to this, I mean, especially now are like, oh, we'd love to invest in your business. And I'm like, you know what? We didn't know you 9 years ago. There was nobody knocking on our door to give us money, and not that we would have taken it. But the only thing I try to teach my niece that I'm like, you're 17 years old. I go, do whatever you want because you can do it.
Sky's the limit.
I mean, like I said, life's too short. If you aren't happy with what you do, it's not worth it. I mean, I was never that type. I think my parents thought I was crazy when I got into culinary, because my father was a businessman and went through school and worked his way up the corporate ladder. I just couldn't do it. I mean, I can't play the game, I guess. I'm who I am at work, at home. I'm all I try to I'm just the same. I don't need to turn it on and turn it off.
Yeah, I want to touch upon something also, because I've seen this throughout the many years we've been food entrepreneurs, and through the many business ventures I had, is it's so interesting how many people chase you down or come to you when you're successful and want to put money in, or when you don't need it anymore, or want you to grow your business when you don't need their help anymore. Yet those people are never around when you're actually starting and actually could use the help. I always find that interesting. And you talked about it a little bit with even just giving advice, how competitive people are. They don't want a new person in the market, and they don't want to help, but people don't realize there is partnerships, one that can happen early on. I mean, I see you're doing it with your friends, and we talked about Due South Pickles and Riverview Farms, etc. But I think from the money standpoint, I always find it so interesting that what comes out of the woodwork during those times. And I will say, in my own experiences, those people that come to you during the successful times, the minute something starts going wrong, they're the first ones who want to get out and want their money out and want to flee on you. And I think I really just want to make that point, that if you built it yourself, there's no reason to bring someone else in to help you continue to build it. I think that's, unless there's really a partnership there, or there's really a friendship and a trust that's taken place to do that, I think that may be a different scenario. But I know in my own experience, I've had partners come in and out, and usually if I bring them in after the success and then something goes wrong, they're the first ones running and blaming everyone else for everything. So I just want to touch on that for sure.
We were there from the beginning. I mean, when there was no success, there was no, we weren't, literally, not that we're somebody now, but we were a nobody. I mean, nobody knew Kevin or Lisa or Homegrown or the Comfy or the Grant Stack, or I didn't know the brand. I didn't know any. I mean, we literally, and I think it's been a complete benefit to us that we were able to do it this way. And the reason I say that is we're in the day and age now where before you ever open, you've already been Yelp reviewed. You've already been write-ups by all the critics. So, before you even open, everybody knows who you are, what you're going to do, what you've done. So, the expectations are so high that you don't have time to figure it out. Where for us, we didn't have a following. Nobody knew anything about us. It was this restaurant's been here 40 something years, and all of a sudden now it's green and white. There's a new sign that says Homegrown. Are they selling weed? Is it, what are they? That literally was the first person that ever walked in. They were like, and we're like, we're in Georgia, and no, it's not legal, and it's 9 years ago, and no, we're not. We're not all of a sudden, and that's what people, the buzz that we got was what is this place? What is Homegrown? So
the logo with the fork and the coffee and the egg didn't give it away.
No, well, people just read the name. They didn't look at that,
right?
But it's the expectations were just not. We didn't have, but I guess you were saying again about the people coming with money. The people that have come to us, I would never spend a second with them. They have. I know who they are, and I know how they do it, and it's kind of people that some people would jump up and down that they even talk to them about giving them money, but we make our decisions, we good or bad, but it's all on us, and we love it that way.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, is having your own control over your own company and remaining flexible. It doesn't matter how big or successful you are, having the ability to steer the ship and being able to pivot when you need to, or add items or take them away or adjust things, or, without having to go to another party. It's a huge advantage, especially in food. You have too many, chiefs and not enough Indians, as the saying would go.
Yeah.
Too many chefs in the kitchen.
Too many chefs in the kitchen.
Right.
It never works out well, and so I really, major props to the way you guys are doing things. I think it's important, and it's important for the audience to hear that remaining true to your own ideas and each other, and pursuing the relationship of food and of the restaurant and of each other without bringing in outside parties is the best way, because no one's going to do it like you do, and certainly no one's going to put in the blood, sweat, and tears that you guys do who are invested from the very beginning. And that's where the money,
Right.
$1 million may look great to start your business, but it's not going to give you the same experience as, $50,000. It's not going to give you the same bond with someone as $50,000. You're not going to have the same hardship, the same stories, the same lessons that you learn that actually keep you open for, 50 years if you wanted them there. If you wanted to own the
Right.
business.
I mean,
that
I would
long.
never change. I mean, I would never. I mean, I can't look back at our business and be like, we should have done this or why. I mean, I think every hiccup and every, thing business wise that came along with it, I mean, has been learning, from the good ones to the bad. I mean, we've learned a lot. I mean, it's, still to this day, it's, we still learn. I mean, it's not like we figured it out. I mean, it's hard, but, I'm glad that the way we did it.
So what do you guys do for advertising? Like, how do you get your name out there? Or, I mean, it sounds like you definitely have a local following of people who are your regulars, but
And that's,
what,
it's so, I love that you asked that, because we would get calls from other business owners going, who does your PR? Like, who's your PR company? And we would laugh. Like, we don't pay anybody. We would never pay for PR. We've never paid for PR. I would never pay for advertising, because when we first opened, we got hit up. It was like City Search, and I can't even remember who they were, and they were like, we have a database of, 500,000 people that, we'll make sure you'll get a huge flow of people. And, we're like, no, like it's organic. I mean, we literally, with Facebook and Instagram and just word of mouth, that has been it. I mean, we got to know our customers who, now when people come in, they say, I'm in here because she told me to come in, or, it's just been literally more word of mouth is how we, and we became, for me, it blew my mind. Like, we became like a culinary hub. Like, all the chefs from the fine dining restaurants were now our customers. And it was like,
that's awesome.
Right. And, but, coming from fine dining and knowing what it was like this cutthroat, chefs not getting along with chefs because, your restaurant was 1 and mine was 5. And, the new Kessler ad was coming out. And if you weren't in the top 10, you were not, and then it was like, I don't want to be in that group. I want to be in a restaurant. I mean, I want a restaurant to serve good food, and I'm not trying to be this cutting edge. And next thing you know, we're in these lists, we're feeding the chefs of all these restaurants that I'd been around for years so, and so culinarily wise, the word of mouth got around because of these people. I mean, I remember, Kevin Gillespie from Top Chef. I mean, he's a local. Y'all know Kevin Gillespie?
Yes.
So he's a local. I mean, he's a local, but he's national. I mean, he's, got quite a name. But he became a regular customer. He's got a dish on our menu. We catered his wedding. It was
amazing.
like. So you just don't know. I think, like you said, you're true to yourself, and and this is the food I was supposed to do. Like, I didn't know it until I did it.
Well, it sounds like, really, you guys have been true to yourselves the whole way through, from not purchasing anything until you had the money to do so, to, putting items on the menu and letting your menu actually even develop over a year, and, letting you have creative freedom by continually changing your menu on a daily basis. And you guys have just been true. You guys are kind of no nonsense, and you know who you are, and you let that shine through, in every aspect of your business. And I think that continuity is, obviously something people are attracted to, and obviously the quality of your food. So, that's huge. Like, so many people work so hard to market themselves and do whatever. And you guys are just like, well, our food speaks for itself. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I would, even through this podcast, I would say if someone's listening, they can reach me, they can reach out to us and ask any question. Because I can say we did it, and we did it for nothing, which we've said over and over. But sometimes people need to hear that. Like, if you really want to do it, you can do it. And I don't care who it is. I mean, I try to tell anybody I ever come across, I don't care where we're at. And we start talking food and they're like, I've always wanted to open a restaurant. I'm like, you know what? You can pick my brain. Here's my card. You can email me. Here's my cell number. You can call me, you know, and not that it happens. I mean, it's probably happened twice, but sometimes you just need that, like somebody who's done it, like we've done it. And I'm like, you can ask me any question. Like I'm open. I'm completely open for you. You know, a lot of times you see people who have made it and you're like, they're on a whole nother level than I am. I'm afraid to ask. I'm like, I will answer, and I will be as positive and I will be a support as best I can, you know, because I think it's needed. I think people need that sometimes.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something very important is people need to go out there and ask the questions. And if they say no, they're not going to help, then fine, that person says no. But there's plenty of people, I believe, that are out there, probably less than there are people that aren't willing to help. Because I know there's lots of them, which is one of the reasons we're doing this podcast, because I feel there are people out there that want to help people and want to pass it on and want there to be success in food and want there to be success through other people, and helping people is a form of success in my opinion. And
right.
And I love that you guys are doing it. So I want to, while we're just quickly, how do people get a hold of you guys if they hear the podcast? Can you give your email address out on the radio or on the podcast?
Yeah, my email is kevin@homegrownga.com, and it goes to Lisa. So, you know, that's my personal email. And like I said, I'm all about helping. Even if it's just, you know, I'm just about to sign a lease, and what y'all have done sounds exactly what I'm doing. I mean, sometimes you just need that, like, somebody to hold your hand and be like, you know, I've been there, because we've been there, and it's not that we've been open that long. I mean,
that's
really,
long, 9 years. That's a success for sure.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm saying, it feels like we opened just yesterday, but when I say it like 10 years, I'm like, God, this is the longest job I've ever had. So
yeah. It sounds like you guys are on track to be like the last restaurant. You're going to have 43 years there.
Right. I know. I wish, but
you never know. Well, time will tell. Time will tell.
Definitely.
No, and the organic thing also, the social media, everyone thinks that everyone can market your business and market and do it well. And while there's businesses out there and they attract people with coupons and whatever incentives there are, when people do it themselves, social media is so easy to use right now. And it's so easy to put it out there, and people can tell when it's not the actual owners or the people not putting the messages out there and they're using third parties. And, I know there's a whole business out there and people that rely on social media, people and marketers to do that. But the success that we've seen, and especially in food and beverages, is when people go out there and they tell their own stories, or they let the food tell the stories, or they're there with the people, one customer at a time, like you said, building that relationship. And that's huge. You don't get that anywhere else. And we've kind of lost track of that in the internet age and the world flattening and being able to outsource to India or whatever everyone does. But the reality is the successful businesses, the ones that we've seen, and the people that really last a long time and that care about their business, and their business does have the longevity, is that they are connecting with people. They're putting the time in. They're telling their own stories, and they're letting their effort, their work, and their friendships and the authenticity and vulnerability that we've talked about on this show really be the thing that shines out there. So I really love that you're saying that, because I feel that way myself. And it's, for me, even doing this show, it's great for me to hear it, because I'm like, this is how I feel, and this is what I believe in. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's free. There's not much out there that's free anymore. When it comes to your business, it's like you want coupons or you want, customer cards, and you got to pay for that. I guess social media, to me, and of course you get more followers, which we're like, we don't care. It doesn't, whatever. luckily for us, which, how we get to watch it, which is crazy, is, we do have famous people that come in every now and again, and you post a picture, and it's amazing. Your daily post will be 400, 500, 600, and then, Bill Clinton comes in, and it's like 19, 20, it's amazing how it works, because that's how it really works. If you can't figure out what people want to see. I mean, for us, it's like we've had cars run into the building. You get a ton of traction from it. We had our sign. It's funny. We had our sign. We had a big windstorm, and our sign that's been at the restaurant for probably 40 years, and we put our homegrown in it. Well, a big windstorm came in, and it fell over. The local TV station's like, "Can we use that?" And it's like, you just don't know, and they use it, and so they're showing it on their website, but it's all free. It's when you become part of the community. And
so your greatest successes on social media have been a car running into your building and your sign being blown down. That's awesome. I love that. Oh, and the president coming in.
Right. Which was crazy. I mean, Lisa and I were in New York, and we get a phone call from one of our managers, and they're like, Bill Clinton just walked into the restaurant. We're like, whatever. And it was a Saturday, and we're crazy busy. I mean, we're busy, but weekends are crazy. Well, he did. And he walks in and goes like into the kitchen, and it was like a movie. I mean, what we saw.
That's surreal for sure.
It was just like, because for us, homegrown is just an extension of our house. I mean, if you came to our home, you would feel the exact same way as you did if you walk into our restaurant. So it's like, these people are coming to our house. Like, not that they're that much any important than anybody else, but, you just, about, I mean, anyway. So
right.
the social media, but it helps. I mean, people come in because of it. people want to go to places where they see good looking food, or, it could be a random mix of people showing up. And that's kind of been something great about what our place, we have every walk of life.
So I wanted to ask you guys, we've talked about a lot of different things, but I wanted to ask you about employees. I mean, you guys do breakfast, you do lunch. Do you do dinner too? I know you do catering.
No, just breakfast and lunch.
Okay, yeah, because there has to be time to have alone time. But so you have breakfast, you have lunch, you do brunches, and then you do catering, right? Okay, so and what about staff? Like, how many employees do you have? And tell us a little bit about how you have selected the people who work for you. I'm imagining that they too are your friends, seeing as though you really, enjoy that.
Staffing is by far the toughest part when it comes to back of the house. Front of the house, we have a set crew. I mean, they've been with us for years. The kitchen, I don't know what it is by far the toughest. And I'm not the only one. When it comes to, other friends in the business deal with the same thing. I mean, we have a great kitchen staff. It's just hard to have, that super strong crew that when I came up seemed to be that way. Now people just leave for no reason. So, when it comes to staffing, it's probably the toughest part.
Is it just keeping it staffed, or?
Well, just people to stay. I mean, we do breakfast, so you got to be up at 5 o'clock to be at work at 6. So, I mean, it's hard to find people who want to get up early.
Right.
And I never really thought about that, but, I tell people, I probably wouldn't have worked at Homegrown when I was younger because I like to go out at night. And, to get up to be at work at 6 a.m., I mean, that's early.
Yeah, definitely.
But, I mean, we have a great kitchen crew. It's just, if there's any part of our business that's the toughest, it's people showing up late because their alarm didn't go off or their phone wasn't plugged in. So, but we have like I said, I have a great kitchen team. But front of the house, we've really not had it's the strongest team of the front and the back, which we don't try to separate the two. And I mean, yes, of course we love our staff. I mean, if you don't fit in, if you're not part of it, you don't stay.
So, like, how much of the time are you guys there? Like, do you guys work daily there, or do you treat it more as management at this point, or how involved do you guys?
Obviously, we're working all the time, whether we're there or not. But at least 4 days a week. 3 to 4 days a week we're there. Whereas when we opened, it was 7 days a week.
Yeah, from open to close
for the first 5 years. But we just got to a point where it was like, we got to take care of our life, like, because it can consume you. It can, it's tough. It's a tough business. It's every day is different. Every single day is something different, a different challenge. So we just got to the point where, I've got a good, a gentleman who runs the kitchen who's amazing. We have 2 managers that help out in the front of the house. So, we have people in place that allow us to not have to be there from open to close every single day. So we're there, as much as we need to be, but we, like I said, we just got to a point where, like, we got to, like, take care of ourselves a little bit.
Right. I don't know if this will help you in the back of the house, but we had a gentleman on who was talking about maintaining employees, and his little tidbit piece of advice was that he always would ask people, like, hey, I know you're not going to work here for forever. Like, I get that. But while you are here, what would you like to learn? Like, what is it you want to, be able to take away from this at some point down the road? And I thought that was a really cool concept to get people really vested in their jobs and getting them doing things that, like, do they want to know how to purchase, or do they want to know how to learn a certain skill in the kitchen, or do they, whatever that is. And I was like, that's a really, great thing. I'm going to have to hold on to that one, because I agree with you. I've definitely had businesses where having employees was a challenge, and, making it so that their longevity was served, because obviously it takes time to get people trained and do all of that. So the longer you can keep them around, the better for everyone, really.
Well, what we do is, like me in the kitchen, when I do hire people, I tell them, I'm like, I want you to learn everything here in this kitchen. Like, for you to make yourself, and I know they're not going to stay there forever. just like you said, but it's like, I want you to do eggs, do the flat top, expo, learn to order, learn to open. You can learn as much as you possibly want. And, and I kind of put it up to them, like, and I'll say to them, like, why don't you learn to get with Ari and learn how to order? So, we pretty much have that open, and even in the front of the house. Once they've been there long enough, they'll come to Lisa and be like, I want to learn to do payroll, or I want to, help Evan do closing, or I want to learn to be a server. So a lot of our people come in as bussers in the front of the house. They'll start as bussers and they work their way up. They run the register, they'll do the host stand. So, and ultimately they'll end up being a manager. Our 2 managers, one was a food runner and now he's a manager in front of the house. The other came in, he just did the register and now he's a manager as well. So, we pretty much have that open policy of they can get out of homegrown as whatever they want.
That's awesome.
Which makes them stay longer, because they learn a lot, and especially the young ones when they come on, that they're like, it's all new to them, like the world of restaurant, and the next thing you know, I'm ready to start learning how to be a waiter.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Which they all want to do.
Anything we can do to keep our employees happy.
Right. Yeah. And we do. And it's probably the one thing that does get annoying for me is we are there to make their lives way better than it ever was for me, or when I came up in this business. I worked for chefs who could care less my happiness. They could care less of anything going on in my life. It was come in, do your job, and go home. They didn't want to get to know me. Where we try to make a point of, these people are running our life. Like, I'd rather know they're in a place that they're welcome, or that we care about them. We try to show that as much as we can.
I think that's great. I think that the more time we can invest in our employees, because we don't do enough of it, and we've had a few episodes that we've talked about it, is we as food entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general, or even managers of businesses, we rarely invest in our employees beyond where it financially benefits the companies we work for or own. And so to actually care about the employees, I love that you said it, because we don't do enough of that, I don't feel like. And really the reward at the end of the day for all of us is how much are we helping the people around us. And you got to obviously have financial success to be in a position to help people in that way. But so you don't have to worry about the business as much. You can worry about helping the people to make sure the business is successful. But I think that when you start off that way, even at the beginning, investing in the people that are working for you, that there's success in it. You're having those people say how great it is to work for you, so they're spreading the word to their friends. Speaking of word of mouth, I think it's not only from a food and a customer standpoint, but it's also from an employee standpoint, because employees do talk to each other.
Right, and then for us, and what you're saying, when it comes, like front of the house, for example, when we need new employees, they bring them on because they know what's expected. They know, what the work environment's like. So, to fill up when someone leaves for any reason, to fill, like I said, coming front of the house is a lot easier. To fill that person is so easy. Like, it's not like we got to do a Craigslist ad or run ads. It's like we're looking for a part-time or a full-time server. They bring on who they want to work with, who is, and who they know is going to fit right in to our system. And luckily we've gotten to that point.
And I think it's so important. I think that, and that's the other thing, the other side of the business people don't see is that how much time we spend trying to hire employees. If you have to run ads and stuff, where if it's just word of mouth and the next person's lined up and people want to work for you, and there's that incentive beyond money as payment, but it's also a great working environment. It's also the ability to learn and grow as a human being, that it makes life so much easier as an entrepreneur or a business owner. And it's just something I really want to touch upon with people, because it's part of your culture. And you talk about business culture, and we talk about, what is the culture we form? Well, culture is sort of grows on its own, but it's, we got to plant the right seeds in order for that to grow and let it grow on its own. And doing what you're doing, I think, is hugely important. And I also want to touch upon
the success of your business.
Yep, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, but the success of your business with what we do lies on, to me, our staff. I mean, that's our face. I mean, when customers come in and, that server has is friendly and is happy for that person to come in, I mean, it lets that customer feel a little more comfortable. I mean, it's because Lisa and I mean, we can't be there all the time. And, it's very important that our staff is, happy, positive, that want to be there. I mean, they're happy to be there, and it helps our business grow, because our customers see, dang, these people work in a place that seems fun, because they're probably going to a job that's not fun, is usually what I say. Like, people that come there to eat, they're on the way to a job they probably hate.
Yeah. Well, Kevin and Lisa, I want to thank you guys so much for being on the podcast. And I love what you guys are saying in the message, and we're definitely going to have you guys back on, because part of what we're trying to do here is tell the longevity story, and really just, it's one thing to just take an hour to hour, 15-minute blip of someone's life and business, but it's another one to see the experiences as they go, and then as everyone gets more comfortable and people become just invested in what's going on and the lessons we can teach. Because some of it is, as we do the podcast, people are being reached out to, and conversations are occurring, and their businesses are growing, or they're helping people, and we definitely want to bring them back on. So I hope you guys will consider coming back on the show later this year and telling the story again in terms of other things we didn't cover during this podcast.
I mean, I would love to. Like I said, I like to talk about it just in the fact that there might be one person that listens to this that needs just some advice, and to know that, I mean, no matter where they are, I mean, they can reach out to me or to us, and just ask, like, how'd you do it? Or, can you just give me a little bit of advice on, or tell me your story. I mean, much like we did. So, I just think getting the word out that you can do it and there are people that are out there to help is very important. So, I'm glad you reached out to us to even talk about this, but, I think it's very important for and it could be not even so much restaurant business. I mean, anybody want to open a business. I mean, it's got to be the same thing. So,
yeah, I will actually tell you when I was reaching out on Instagram when we first started this idea, and I was literally had not a single podcast recorded. And I'm like, okay, I'm brainstorming this, and I didn't write a plan because Deborah would ask me, well, what about this and what about this? I'm like, I don't know, I'm just going for it. Yeah. And and you guys were actually recommended by two people that I reached out. They're like, oh yeah, we're interested, but you should also reach out to Kevin at Homegrown, and because he's got the exact same thought process as you do in terms of giving back and taking success and helping people. And so I wanted to give you props for that because I didn't give it earlier in the show, but I certainly think that credit's due there because people do recognize it, and people do recognize when people are helping them or invested in them, or where they see friendship there. And we talk about this in a few of the Motivational Mondays, is you never know when you're helping someone, but just the fact that you're willing to, you never know when you make someone's day or you help them in some way. And I think that you guys are doing that with people. And like I said, the two people that recommended that I contact you guys, I felt that they felt that way. So, for sure. And from Deborah's and I's standpoint, Kevin and Lisa, you guys are doing a phenomenal job. And I think the way you're investing in your employees and in your community is amazing, and staying true to yourselves. And the comment of the restaurant is an extension of your home, I think that's a huge message there.
Yeah, but it is. Like I said, we wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, for us, it's, yes, we go to work, but it's not like work. And when we go there, we walk in and it's like, awesome. We come home, it's the same thing. Like, it's just, I tell people that, like, you are just like sitting at my house. I mean, the food would be just as good.
And I don't know what happened there, but I think we may have lost you guys. But I just want to make sure that that I give everyone your location. Did you guys come back on?
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
It's okay. I'll cut it out, so the audience will hear me say I'll cut it out, but they won't even know.
Okay. So what do you want? Like, we're at 968 Memorial Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, 30316. And one other thing, we do have a pimento cheese that's in grocery stores that we just started.
Oh, that's fun. So tell us a little bit about that real quick.
Yeah, well, it was, it's just that customer relations. We have a customer who would come in every morning. His name's Donnie, and he works for a local company called Gourmet Foods. And I remember I got to know him, and he was like, you're probably not going to use any product out of our company because it's all high end. I was like, hey, man, you never know. Well, anyway, I started ordering stuff from him. We order a lot of stuff from them. It's on our menu. So then the whole company started coming in, and they were naming a cheese one day. They'll buy a cheese from a cheesemaker, say in Wisconsin, and they'll purchase it and give it their own name. So they'll buy it, label it, and sell it. I said, just in passing, why don't y'all do homegrown pimento cheese? Next thing you know, I'm hanging out with their chef, giving him my recipe. Year and a half goes by. It's on the shelves, Amazon, fresh. Something we would have never in 10 million years ever thought we'd ever do is to see something with our homegrown label in a grocery store. So, and that was all just customer relations. That's just randomly getting to know people from a company. So I guess kind of thing is you just never, ever know how things will happen.
And like I see you have it in classic and jalapeno. Yeah.
So we have both. And like I said,
so people can find that on Amazon and in which grocery stores?
It's Amazon Fresh. There's Kroger, there's Albertsons, Cub. You have to just, if you look at, I don't even know a lot of the stores it's in. People will send me pictures. Oh, I'm in New Orleans. Look, it's in this little market.
That's fun.
My buddy in Louisiana was like, hey, look, my little grocery store. So it could be anywhere, but it's our homegrown, our logo, and it's a great product. We love it. But I'm saying it's something crazy that we would have. I mean, it's nothing we ever thought of doing. It just happened.
Well, and there lies the future for you, more than probably the brick and mortar and expanding the restaurants. Is you have all these good recipes, maybe expanding that beyond the pimento cheese as an opportunity there.
Right.
I love that, actually, and it's funny because on one side we talk about comfortability, and then the real sign of success sometimes is the opportunities start to come on their own, and where we don't have to put in a lot of extra work, and it's just something that we've already done and we don't know it, and it comes out of nowhere. So I'm glad we talked about that for sure, and I'm definitely interested to talk about that more on the next podcast, see how that's going. And Deborah, next time we're in Georgia, will definitely eat some of it, because I know, or try to find it here in Denver. Maybe it's here, as Albertson is also Safeway and stuff like that. So, and Kroger's is King Soopers out
Denver
here. So,
but if you look on our website, there's a link.
Okay.
That you can put in your area code or zip code, and it'll tell you if it's close to you.
That's awesome. Last time we bought pimento cheese, Deborah ate the whole thing in one sitting, so we'll have to see what happens.
It's true.
There you go.
I had never had it before, and someone was telling me about it, and so we picked some up when we were at Farmview, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, it's, living in Colorado my whole life, I had never heard of it, so I was like, oh my God, delicious.
So, y'all in Denver?
Yeah, we're in Denver, but we're in Georgia quite a bit, just for work, since we're working on the Milledgeville campus there, trying to rehabilitate the old Central State Hospital commissary there.
Georgia College.
Yeah, near there, yep. Near Georgia College, yep. It's the Central State Hospital, so we spend a lot of time in Georgia, hence why so many Georgia companies and relationships we have there.
Well, then you're definitely going to have to come up homegrown next time.
Yeah, we'll be in.
I know, I was just looking at a map trying to see if you guys are on our way to Milledgeville, because we head there quite often. We fly in a lot of times every other week. But anyway,
Atlanta?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you fly into, fly into the main?
Yeah, we fly into Atlanta.
So you go right by the restaurant, because you take 20?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we're off. Yeah, you go right by the restaurant.
All right. Well, we might have to try to figure that out. We actually have something coming up where we fly in late at night and have to drive in the morning, so we could maybe catch some breakfast.
Yeah, and we'll be there for the Flavor of Georgia contest as well. So we have some days around there. We'll actually be staying in Atlanta for a few days for that. So
yeah, we did that a couple years ago for the pimento cheese.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Another one, I got to make sure I make note of that, because I love doing the Flavor of Georgia weekends and stuff like that on the podcast and promoting the episodes.
Nice.
Well, I wanted to thank you guys again, especially taking the time, and I know we had to reschedule and stuff like that, but I really enjoy your episode and your guys' story and everything like that, and I can't wait to have you guys back on, and we're definitely going to come chat more at your location. Again, I want to just tell the audience that's 968 Memorial Drive, Atlanta, Georgia. And if they want to call or they want catering, the number's 404-222-0455. And again, that phone number seems to be a lucky number. There's 3 2s in it, which is always a good number. And so, Kevin and Lisa, thank you again. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And anyone in the audience, please stop by Homegrown and look at the menu and eat some of the food. It looks ridiculous. My mouth is watering just talking about it. I'm having a little trouble talking right now.
Awesome.
And so thank you, everyone, and thank you for listening. Please share the podcast with people. We're out here, we're doing this, and we're not pushing it, and we're just spending our time doing it, and there's nothing in it for Deborah and us other than our time. So please share it, those in the audience that listen in. If you like what we're doing, share it with your friends and your family, and encourage them to share it if they like it, because we're just trying to help people and help people grow, which we've talked a lot about on this episode. So I just want to put that out there. I'm Justin Bizzarro. I'm the host, and I thank Deborah, and again, I thank Kevin and Lisa, you guys were amazing. And this is Justin, the Food Entrepreneurs Podcast. If you guys have any questions or you want to reach out to me, I'm justin.bizzarro@gmail.com. That's BIZZARRO@gmail.com. Thank you and have a great day.